मोदी नहीं तो और कोई तो है ही नहीं।
इतनी बुरी हालत कोई भी और सरकार नहीं करती। मोदी से अच्छा एक गधा बेटर है, एक एक्चुअल डोंकी, क्योंकि वो कुछ नहीं करेगा वहां पे बैठ के, और कुछ ना करना।
A donkey is better than Modi. The RSS is inspired by Hitler. Bollywood is making propaganda. These aren't just comments. These are potential lawsuits waiting to happen. In a recent interview with Kavya Karnatak, Dhruv Rathee didn't just critique the system, he dismantled it, piece by controversial piece. But are these claims factual analysis or emotional outburst? We analyze the footage frame by frame. We check the records, and today we separate the real from the record. Welcome back. We are looking at the viral interview that has polarized the internet. The format was simple, a conversation, but the content really explosive. Now let's open the file. First, the moment that arguably caused the most damage. This is a classic rhetorical trap. Rathee uses the donkey as a metaphor for inaction being superior to destructive action. In political commentary, satire is protected. However, comparing a sitting prime minister to an animal crosses the line of constructive criticism for the vast majority of the electorate. While his core argument was about policy impact, the vocabulary used ensures the message is lost in the insult. This wasn't analysis, it was agitation. Next, the attack on Bollywood. Rathee claims the industry has become a mouthpiece for the ruling party. He argues that films are being weaponized to shape psychology. Let's look at the censored records. We have seen a spike in films centered on historical nationalism and hyper-nationalization receiving tax breaks, while films dissenting against the government face cuts. Rathee's point on trend is statistically supported. However, labeling the film Animal a commercial blockbuster about personal vengeance as purely political propaganda is a stretch. It conflicts social toxicity with political strategy. The investigation shows a mix. Yes, propaganda films exist, but not every toxic movie is a government plot. Now, The King and the Pan Masala, then went after the untouchable Shah Rukh Khan. Rathee questions why a billionaire superstar needs to sell hazardous products via surrogate advertising. This is the strongest ethical argument in the interview. The record shows that surrogate advertising laws are deliberately vague. When Rathee asks why look to the government, he is highlighting a failure of regulation. If the government wanted pan masala banned, they would ban it. They won't. They tax it. Rathee attacks SRK for moral bankruptcy, but the real culprit here is the regulatory framework that allows the mouth freshener loophole to exist. Now goes atheism. Rathee shifts from politics to religion, declaring his atheism and attacking Babas. In a country where 99% of the population identifies with a religion, this is the riskiest positioning. However, from an investigative standpoint, the Baba industry is rife with documented fraud cases. By grouping all spiritual leaders with fraudsters, he alienates the moderate believer. The logic is sound regarding exploitation, but the delivery creates an us versus them narrative that often shuts down the very scientific temper he is trying to promote. And finally, the nuclear option, the comparison between the RSS and Nazi ideology. He claims the RSS has no intended roots and is a copy of European fascism. We check the archives. M.S. Goldwacker's 1939 book, We or Our Nationhood Defined, does explicitly praise Nazi Germany's racial purity policies. That is a record. It is a fact. However, the RSS has largely distanced itself from its specific text in recent decades. Rathee's argument relies on the foundational documents, while his critics argue on current evolution. The historical link exists, but presenting it without the context of the last 80 years of changes is why this point is so fiercely debated. Dhruv Rathee is not just an educator, he is a provocator. Whether you see him as a truth teller or a manipulator depends on your politics. But our investigation reveals one thing: he knows exactly which lines to cross to keep the algorithm watching. We have unmasked the clips, we have exposed the content. Now the verdict belongs to you. Don't just watch the news, read between the lines. This is the Unmasked Indian signing off. Until the next time, stay tuned.